The integumentary system is made up of the skin as well as the accessory structures. The skin has two layers, the epidermis as well as the dermis. The accessory structures of the skin would be the hair, nails, and exocrine glands. The hair helps to filter dirt and gives sensory input. The nails provide a protective function, and the exocrine glands excrete product through ducts located in the pancreas. The epidermis, located here, is composed of stratified squamous epithelium. This layer helps to give protection from the outside world. The dermis layer here is composed of dense, irregular connective tissue as well as areolar tissue. Below those two layers is what we call the hypodermis, located here. Although it is not another layer, the hypodermis consists of adipose as well as areolar tissue. Depending on whether it is thin skin or thick skin, the epidermis may either have 4 or 5 layers. From superficial to deep, these layers are named the stratum corneum, right here. The stratum lucidum would be here, the only extra layer found in thick skin. The stratum granulosum is located here, and the stratum spinosum, and the stratum basale. Starting with the superficial layer, with the most superficial layer, would be the stratum corneum, which are totally dead cells. The stratum lucidum is located here and is the only one found in thick skin. The stratum granulosum is here. This layer produces a lot of keratin that is used for protection, and the cells may start to die. Moving down is the stratum spinosum, which is located here. Here, keratinocytes begin to form desmosomes. Moving down another layer would be the stratum basale, right here. It is the deepest layer, and the cells are rapidly dividing here. Melanocytes and Merkel cells are also found here. The epidermis will consist of 4 cells. The cells are the keratinocytes, the melanocytes, the Langerhans cells, and the Merkel cells. Starting off with the keratinocytes, they are the most common cells in the epidermis. Keratinocytes produce keratin hormone and make the skin waterproof and resistant to abrasion. Moving on to the melanocytes, they make the melanin pigment. It gives the skin its color and also gives protection from ultraviolet rays. The Langerhans cells are essentially big eaters in the skin. These cells help to keep the immune system active. The Merkel cells are simply sensory receptors for touch. I'm going to pause that. Moving on to the dermis, is located beneath the epidermis and is composed of 2 primary layers. The papillary layer located here, and the reticular layer located here. The papillary layer is the top layer of the dermis and is made of areolar connective tissue. The papillary layer consists of dermal papillae as well as dermal and epidermal ridges. Dermal papillae is a strong structure that carries the capillaries and Meissner's corpuscles. The dermal and epidermal ridges help with increasing friction, detecting vibration, and forming fingerprints. The reticular layer located underneath the papillary layer is made of dense, irregular connective tissue. The reticular layer contains tension as well as flexure lines. The tension lines are invisible lines located between bundles of oxygen, and flexure lines are places where the dermis is attached to deeper structures within the skin.
Skin covers all of the body, but color varies from person to person. Skin cells and their allies, hair, sweat, and oil glands, form the first line of defense from the environment. The skin's 3 main layers are epidermis, dermis, and the hypodermis. Each have distinct cells, all with different jobs. To see what gives skin its color, we look to the outermost layer, the epidermis. The epidermis has 2 important cells, keratinocytes and melanocytes. Keratinocytes are cells that form the surface of the skin and are the skin's front line for environmental abrasion. Deeper down the epidermis, At the base of the layer, we find melanocytes. These are star-shaped cells that are responsible for producing important pigment, which is melanin. Melanin is produced inside the melanocytes and then create melanosomes. Melanin is a dark brown to black pigment that occurs in the hair and skin. These are made by melanocytes, which are mature melanin-forming cells. This protects us from UV rays. Keratin is a yellow to orange pigment found on the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands and face. Third is hemoglobin. This pigment has a pinkish hue. It is an iron-based, oxygen-carrying molecule in red blood cells. Now on to sweat glands, or skin glands. Eccrine sweat glands are found in the palms of our hands and soles of our feet and forehead. These glands secrete water to the skin surface. This helps us thermoregulate our bodies, meaning it secretes cooling sweat. Eccrine sweat glands are associated with hair follicles. They continuously secrete a fatty sweat into the gland tubule. Stress causes the tubular wall to contract, thus expelling the fatty secretion to the skin, where the local bacteria break it down into odorous fatty acids. Next we have cumulus glands, are the external auditory canal modified Eccrine sweat glands. Together, sebaceous glands produce ear wax. This is important because curcumin protects the ear canal against physical damage and microbial invasion. Sebaceous gland or oil gland keeps the skin lubricated. This gland secretes oily, waxy substance called sebum, made of metabolites of fat-producing cells. Functions of skin. The skin protects from abrasion, bacteria, and UV radiation. The skin also thermoregulates the body. The skin is a continuous sensory reception. This way we can feel a sense of touch, pain receptors, detecting light touch and deep pressure. Skin has metabolic functions. The skin activates vitamin D and makes bones strong.
Tissue damage inflicted by intense heat, electricity, radiation, or certain chemicals. The rule of nines refers to the percentage of body surface burned and is estimated by this rule. Front and back of arms is 4.5% each. The trunk is 18%. Each leg is 9%. The front and back of the head is also 4.5% each. Now we'll talk about first, second, and third degree burns. First degree burns damages the epidermis, but not down to the dermis. Second degree is burned down into the dermis. And third degree is burned all the way through the skin, destroying nerve endings. Homeostatic imbalances of the skin. First, we start off with striae, which is stretch marks. This is caused by tearing of the dermis due to rapid growth or weight changes. For example, when a woman's pregnant. Next, we have blisters. This is when the epidermis has separated from the dermis. The skin is raised and it's filled with a fluid bubble. The effects of UV, ultraviolet rays from the sun, can alter or mutate DNA. UV causes cancer and clumps elastin fibers. And now we have the abnormal coloration of skin. This is cyanosis, a bluish-purple color to the skin, easily seen where the skin is thin, such as the lips and nail beds. It is an indication of low oxygen levels in the red blood cells. Next we have erythema, reddening of the skin as a result of an injury or irritation from allergies that causes dilation of the blood capillaries. This is pallor, a blood draining from the skin. Examples include lack of sun exposure, being frightened, or exposed to cold temperatures. Lastly, of the abnormal coloration of skin, we have jaundice. This occurs when there is too much bilirubin in the blood, which causes a yellow pigment. It is an indication of the liver not working very well. And lastly, we have hematoma. This is clotted blood or bleeding outside of blood vessels. An example would be bruising, as you see here. Skin cancer. Right here we have basal cell carcinoma. It is the most common form of skin cancer. It is the least malignant and is present in 80% of cases. It begins in the stratum basale. Next up, we have squamous cell carcinoma. Occurs in the second thickest layer of skin, the stratum spinosum. It is the second most common form of skin cancer, and it is scaly and reddish, as you can see in the picture, in appearance, caused by an uncontrolled growth of abnormal squamous cells. And lastly, we have melanoma. Happens when the pigment-producing cells, known as melanocytes, begin to mutate and become cancerous. It can be caused from overexposure to UV rays. Next up, we have the ABCD rule for recognizing melanoma. A is asymmetry. The two sides of the pigmented spot or mole do not match. Next, we have B for border irregularity. The borders of the lesion exhibit indentations. C, color. The pigmented spots contain several colors ranging from black, brown, tan, and sometimes blue and red. D, diameter. The spot is larger than 6 millimeters in diameter, about the size of a pencil eraser. E, evolution or evolving. The spot will change over time. Lastly, we'll explain how the integumentary system integrates with other body systems. First, we have the skeletal system. Skin protects bones, and also the skeletal system provides support for skin. Next, we have muscular system. Muscles that are active generate large amounts of heat, which increases blood flow to the skin. Nervous system. The nervous system regulates diameter of blood vessels in skin and activates sweat glands for thermoregulation. Endocrine system. Converts some hormones to their active forms. Cardiovascular system transports oxygen and nutrients to skin and removes wastes from skin. Lymphatic system. The immune system protects skin cells and picks up any excessive leaked fluid to prevent edema, which is swelling. System. Hairs and nose help filter out dust from inhaled air. Digestive system provides needed nutrients to the skin. Urinary system excretes salts and some nitrogenous waste in sweat. Reproductive system. Mammary glands produce milk. Skin stretches during pregnancy to accommodate growing fetus.